Hello and welcome to The Game, football podcast from The Times. A last-minute equaliser conceded and a shock outburst from a disgruntled star. Liverpool's Premier League title defence continues to spiral into a catastrophe. Is there any way back for Mohamed Salah? And what now for Liverpool and Arne Slot? On today's show, we'll also ask whether Aston Villa's win against Arsenal makes them title contenders. And we'll look at victories for Everton, Tottenham, Fulham and much, much more. I'm Tom Clark, and joining me today we have the senior sports writer and Sunday Times columnist Alison Rudd, the football reporter who covers clubs in the south of England with a focus on Tottenham, it's Tom Allnut, and a former footballer turned journalist Gregor Robertson is here as usual. Team, loads to talk about. Let's get stuck straight in. Mohamed Salah, what a story. What a story after an amazing game. I mean, I should just say very quickly, I feel sorry for Leeds, don't you? What an amazing night at Ellen Road. 3-3 under the lights, Saturday evening, late equaliser. I'm just getting the mention in now. Leeds fans, that's probably all you're getting.
No more.
That's probably all you're getting, because then Mohamed Salah comes out into the mix zone afterwards and accuses Liverpool of throwing him under the bus. Said his relationship with manager Arne Slot is non-existent, basically. Said he would say goodbye to Liverpool supporters after the game. As Paul Joyce wrote in the game and on the Times website today, Alison, basically kind of lobbing a grenade into Liverpool's already disastrous season. What was your reaction on Saturday night when you saw these comments from Mo Salah?
Well, I agree they're not helpful. But actually, if you bother to watch him speaking, he's very calm and with an underlying tone of emotion.
Yeah.
And the more I've read it through and thought about it, everyone's laid into him. Everyone is laid into him. But are we as journalists going to sit here and deny him freedom of expression? Who are we to say he doesn't feel the things he's saying? Everyone's assumed it's a calculated attempt to get him moved to Saudi Arabia. Maybe he genuinely feels this is awful. It's just, from his point of view, to be stuck on the bench and made the scapegoat, which is how he feels, and who are we to deny that that's how he genuinely feels? Why would we... I mean, it seems to me most people are saying, we know you're probably unhappy with the way the title defence is going, Mo, but you're not allowed to say those things. Of course he's allowed to say those things.
So that's your considered reaction. I said, what was your reaction on Saturday night? You threw the remote control across the room, presumably. Surely. That can't have been your take on Saturday night, surely.
Actually, I was fairly calm about it.
Really?
I really was. Because
Are you surprised?
because it's been so bad.
Are you surprised?
Everything has been bad. It's just been awful. From the death of Jota onwards, it has been an awful season to be a Liverpool supporter. And it's, as a title defence, it's crumbling. And it's like with each passing game, you can draw different negative conclusions about what is going wrong. So I will mention Leeds again. Leeds, Liverpool had the game won twice and couldn't win it. It's like any opposition, it doesn't matter if they're a team tipped to be the one that probably will go down. They can find what it takes to unsettle, unnerve and puncture whatever Liverpool have managed to conjure up. And it's so with each game there's another reason to be, dismayed. Looks like the attack's starting to produce goals. Ekitike, we loved him when he started.
Yeah.
He's scoring the goals, but it's not enough. It's just not enough.
So are you folding that into Salah's?
This is a lot of deflection from Salah. Yeah.
No, but if you're okay, and that's how I feel. That's how I feel as a Liverpool fan. So how on earth would you feel as the player who's brought you all the club's recent glory? His statistics for last season were the reason for the title win.
And new contract.
He's entitled to feel it all. Of course he's entitled to feel it, but he's not entitled to go out and tell everyone the world about it.
I would disagree. I say he is entitled to say he feels that way. Of course he's entitled
to, but he's not, if he wants to have any consideration for the club that's been his home and he's just said his kids love and everything, the club that you love.
They put him on a throne. They put him on a throne when they gave him a new contract.
Yeah, it's extraordinarily.
They put him on a throne.
That's not the same as a gagging order, is it?
No,
it's not a gagging order. No, of course he's entitled to feel all these things. No one he's a superstar, and it's a massive blow to his ego to be like someone saying you're not in our starting 11 now, and this might be the end of your beginning of your decline, managed decline. He doesn't want to accept that. Of course, he's entitled to feel all those things, but
you're saying he's not entitled to say that?
He's entitled to do it, but it's a massive, hand grenade is right. Hand grenade into his own dressing room, into the manager's office, into the boardroom, into Liverpool Football Club into the middle of Anfield, the place, as Tom just said, he sat with in a throne not long ago. Like, it's extraordinarily self-centered, and like we can talk about all the context, and like as a superstar and as one of the best players on the planet, you've got to have this ego to be that good, but it doesn't take away from the fact
you
that
could argue it's a life belt. He's thrown Liverpool a life belt because now everyone can focus on him, and he can be managed out of the club.
That
a
is
ridiculous take.
That
Come
is
on
And they
now.
can now
take.
reinvent the right side.
That is an absolutely mad
But
take.
I do
Tom?
think it could be a good thing for Slot. You know, you think about the position that Slot's in. I do think it could strengthen his position, because I think if they manage it right, and I think the right decision now is to move on and to draw a line under it. I think they have to get rid of him if they can in January. I think they should. And if they do that, and you know, Slot, I think, will come out and speak about it today. And you know, if he finds the right words, I think the Liverpool fans will side with him. The club will side with him, no doubt about that. You know, and I think sometimes you have these kind of, you know, wars between managers and players, and actually, in the end, the manager will be the one who will come out on top always. And I think people will probably actually have a lot of sympathy for Slot in this situation. I mean, there's no way that Salah can come back from this. You know, the idea that he can play again for Liverpool, you know, even next weekend. How do they manage that next weekend if he wants to have this big send-off against Brighton? You know,
He doesn't deserve a send-off after saying this. No way. Like, I'm bringing my family there. Well, good. You can sit beside them. That's ridiculous. Like, he can't play. Like, I in my heart of hearts think, yes, this is it. It's over. There is a way back if, like, you put them to one side until the AFCON, and they have the conversations during that tournament, and they say, okay, like, what does everyone want from this? How do we want this to end? But ultimately, I think if I'm the guy who's making the decision for Liverpool, I'm moving him on now.
We should just say we're recording this on Monday morning. Salah has reported for training with the club before they head to Milan to face Inter in the Champions League. That training session is happening around midday, and by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably know a lot more about whether he has travelled with the club, whether he's trained with the club, and Arne Slot himself is due to speak this evening around 7 p.m. So chances are you might know a lot more by the time you're listening to this podcast than we do now currently. But I mean, Alison, both the guys there saying it's done, despite your, you know, different take, I should say, to Salah's comments. Is there any way back for him? As a Liverpool fan, is there any way back for him if you've got this different take on his comments?
No, there's no way back for him unless there's a new manager in the next couple of weeks who decides he can come in and reinvent and extend Mo Salah's career. So no, not under Slot, no, because he's told everyone they have zero relationship. It's not even that they have a bad relationship; they don't have a relationship.
Yeah.
So he's. But I'm not disputing that it is a hand grenade. I'm not disputing that it's unusual. I do feel though it's a bit ironic not to actually. It's as though he has no right to speak, and I think given everything he's given the club, and if he feels genuinely that he is being made the scapegoat, and I think you can construct an argument that he is being made a slight scapegoat here, because Slot is looking for solutions and ways forward, and the mood music was Mo Salah's performances have dropped off more significantly than anyone was expecting. Why is Slot continuing to deploy him? So he heard that, and he's under pressure. So what do you do as an under pressure manager in that situation? You do what the people want, which is rest Mo Salah.
But I don't think,
because you're proving you have the strength of character to do it.
You wouldn't have disagreed with that, though.
He's not making decisions because
this season,
people
hasn't he?
saying things about Mo Salah. He's watching the games himself. He knows everything.
Also, in terms of scapegoats, I mean, I'd say Konate's taken a far bigger kicking than most.
But as Mo Salah said, he's not being dropped, is he?
Yeah, but Konate can't be dropped.
They've
He
got
would
no
drop
defenders,
Konate if he could drop him. Salah can be dropped. And like also when everyone says you need to go back, it's not everyone's saying he's listening. A fundamental fact of football is when you're in a bad run, you go back to basics. That's what everyone says, and that means running around and being solid and like showing that, you know,
effort and commitment and tracking back and all these things. Yeah,
and these are the things that everyone is like pointing at. And Hamza's made some interesting points actually, like a few tweets and stuff online recently about the fact that his data for pressing and stuff is still there, but there's no question that you look at Liverpool's team and like Cucurella came out recently and said we were told to target the right side when we played them. Like this was Maresca's instruction. So people are looking at Liverpool's right side and seeing it's a weakness. Like that can't continue.
It is an extraordinary place to be, though, isn't it? You know, on this podcast last season, there was so much discussion around how long do you give Mo Salah a contract. Alison, you're like, yeah, give him 3 years, of course. I don't think anyone would have disagreed. 2-year contract for him, 2-year contract for Van Dijk. No, you would have disagreed.
I think. Well, I remember we were asking.
We debated it.
We were asking the question: who would you out of the three would you say let go? And I think I said Salah. That's it. And
but even though
there was no right or wrong answer there. There wasn't.
What I'm saying is that even then, you wouldn't have necessarily foreseen a drop off in, standards and contributions to the team in the way he has, and then this scenario as we head towards a January window of him being shipped out and not getting any farewell and sod him. Who cares?
And I'm still not.
No one saw that.
No.
It's remarkable.
We all got everything completely wrong about Liverpool, didn't we? This season, everyone.
Of course.
I mean, all the big takes on Liverpool have been proven completely wrong.
And I'm still not entirely convinced that, the idea that his legs have gone. Like, I haven't said that. I watched him come on in the second half against Sunderland, and it looked like he'd lost the spring in his step. He couldn't go past anyone. I saw a stat where his dribble completions at 25%. It's the lowest it's ever been in his entire time at the club. There are signs that he's starting to go that way, and as we've discussed recently, it can happen very quickly. But I think actually there are other things going on at Liverpool, and this is the whole thing with every aspect of Liverpool's sort of issues at the moment. It's a puzzle. He's having to play wider this season because if you're trying to accommodate a number 10, and you think of Salah at his best, he's running inside a fullback, he's getting the ball in the corner of the 18-yard box, he's getting the ball from a brilliant through ball from Trent Alexander-Arnold. None of those things happen anymore. He's been asked to play in a slightly different shape, so all of that ties into his decline and Liverpool's difficulties this season. So it's not all on Salah, but he's not playing well, and he's one of many options to try and improve the
But the
team's
fact you say it with that
performance.
tone of voice, it's not all on Salah, implies a lot of it is on Salah, and that is why he said what he said, because he feels like he is being made.
He's Mo Salah. He's Mo Salah.
He's the star player, and in one way where you get all the acclaim and you get a throne and you get a new contract when you win a title single-handedly, etc. When things are going bad, you need your superstar to step up, don't you? When you've been given a new contract, do you not? So it's not scapegoating; it's responsibility.
I'm not here to speak on his behalf, but if he was sat here, I think he'd say, "I am still trying." It's just that the team is not set up for the way I can set it up, and I'm not getting the information I need from the management.
He needs to be worth setting up the team around him, and he's not anymore.
But if you think about scenarios in the past, like Roy Keane at Manchester United, when he came out and did that interview with that was the internal TV channel that it never went out, and Sir Alex Ferguson still ditched him after that, and that was Roy Keane at Manchester United. Arguably as big, probably bigger than Salah at Liverpool. Salah went out just into the mix zone in front of everyone and just went,
massive coup for the mix zone culture. Massive coup. When we think now players are always coming out putting statements on Instagram, doing big interviews.
It's a nightmare for me with managing the match list, because you lot are all going to be like, I need help, I need someone to go down to the mix zone. You never know, you might get a bit of Salah gold. We're all going to be waiting for it every time now, aren't you? If I was a footballer, I'd just come out and go like, no, I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, but I mean, what does Arne Slot do now? Because you said he could kind of come out of this well. As I say, probably some of you listening to this will have already heard what Arne Slot's had to say tonight. How does Slot manage this? Does he kind of just dismiss it, or does he need to come out this evening and go, I've talked to him, it's done? Do they want to nip this in the bud, or how do they play this? How do they fix it?
I mean, there was a scenario here where Salah could have been managed for this season, like a lot of big players have. I mean, you remember like Ryan Giggs, for example, where they sort of are tweaked a little bit. They come in off the bench and they sort of become a sort of a squad player, and they're very important to the dressing room. But we were talking about this last week, and it was very clear in my mind that Salah was never going to be that player, because there are certain, big names, big egos who will never tolerate that. And we have lots of examples. Not every brilliant career ends romantically, and I think this idea that Salah is tarnishing his legacy, in 10 years, no one's gonna remember this. I mean, don't forget, Lionel Messi handed in a transfer request to Barcelona by Burofax. No one's interested in that now, And people don't remember these things. Like, Salah's still going to go down as one of the greats of Liverpool, no matter how it ends in the next few weeks. But for Slot now to create a new team, and I agree with Gregor, that the point is, of course, there are other players in this team, Cody Gakpo, Konate, who are probably also have been slightly overplayed in terms of their performance, and Salah's probably looking at those and thinking, yeah, sure, why are they not getting dropped like I am? But the point is that Salah absorbs so much of the Liverpool's play that if you want to get the best out of Isak, you want to get the best out of Wirtz, and you want to get the best out of Ekitike in this new dynamic, then he's the one who sucks all the play towards him, right? So if you want to unleash this team in a kind of new era, then Slot has to make this decision, you know. And I think, you know, he can say to Salah, okay, you know, if you want to come out and apologise, if you want to kind of make it right, then we can still make this work for the rest of the season. But I don't see that happening. Like, I don't see that happening at all. I think he has to draw a line under it and let this team now have a new lease of life without him.
Slot's great at handling the media, and this is a bigger thing than he's ever had to handle before. But I would expect him to handle it well, however he handles it. Yeah. And there are several ways he can handle it. He can say, "You can't challenge my authority like that," and he can say it in a very measured tone. And everyone will go, "Yeah, you're right," and like say he's not going to play in Milan. We'll see. We'll have further discussions about the weekend, and then he goes off to AFCON. He could say it like that, or he could just say, "No, he's not going to play until AFCON," or he could keep him in. He'll say, "I spoke to him. I told him I didn't like what he said, but I understand his frustrations, and you know he's still part of the squad." He could say that. There's nothing wrong with him saying that. I doubt he'll put him on the pitch, and I'm sure he'll still cut a brooding figure on the sidelines. He can say all these things. He's in control, but like my gut is that when it gets to AFCON, they'll have conversations and probably they'll be apart in ways.
So you all think that it's over for Mo Salah at Liverpool now after this. Is there a world in which that this is a good thing for Liverpool, that he leaves and that Liverpool and Arne Slot can start the new Liverpool Part 2 under Arne Slot without him that we've talked about with the new players? Is there a world in which that actually this massive news story is actually a good thing for the club going forward?
It could be.
Possibly,
It could be. It gives. I mean, it's in a strange way, it's a distraction from the woes, isn't it? It sort of
but to
gives
Tom's
a different
point
line
about
of reasoning.
building a new team, building a new right side,
like I said,
sell him and move on.
If clubs are, as they are, identifying the right side as a weakness, and that weakness is partly because Salah's just not functioning as he'd like to in it, then yeah, go for it. But ultimately, if Salah's not playing and as a manager, you don't have to worry about whether you bring him off the bench or start him. If that decision is gone, and you've got a clean slate for your right side, the pressure is on you. Then I think Arne Slot to make that right side work.
Yeah, Gregor, good thing.
It could be like he's still a world-class player. He's just like Liverpool are a struggling team at the moment, and if you could have him, as Tom said, and like play him at the right times and try and manage him at the age of 33 and you know all those things, it doesn't seem like that's going to be possible. So I think ultimately it's best for both parties that they part ways, and then it is like one of Arne Slot's many headaches gone, because he is a headache at the moment. He's not. I mean, he scored 5 goals and 3 assists. It's not disastrous in 19 games. Like it's not. It's not Mo Salah's numbers. It's not such a drop off from last season, but he is a headache for him. Yeah. And removing that headache will help him and Liverpool.
I think Salah deep down will know as well. I think he'll know deep down he hasn't been as good as he was last year. He'll know that he's not delivering for the team. And I think it's just that thing, isn't it? That when you get to sort of, what's he, 33, 34, 33, you get to that end of your career and it's that frustration as well in yourself because you realise your legs aren't doing quite what they were doing before. It's that kind of anger and you want to take it out on everyone else, you know, and it's really difficult. You know, you put yourself in the kind of mindset of these players, and I think it is a very specific bracket. You know, the real greats of the game in terms of sports guys. You know, like they have that mindset where they think they are the best all the time, every minute, and they should be at the centre of everything. You know, and that is it. And it's very hard for them to adjust just like that. You know, Salah was best player in the league last year, won Liverpool the title. In the space of 3 or 4 months, we're supposed to, you know, expect him to suddenly become, you know, Mr. Nice Guy and allow everyone else to kind of have the limelight. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah. It's no surprise to me whatsoever that he's exploded like this. And I think actually, you know, reading reports today and people writing about it, I think even at the club, inside Liverpool, they were almost expecting something like this to happen.
Really interesting. And as I say, a developing story all the time. Keep up to date with it. The latest from Paul Joyce and Hamza Khalid-Lunat. Hamza's going to the Inter Milan game and Paul Joyce reporting from Liverpool's training ground. He'll have all the latest on the Times website. But listeners, do get in touch with me. Liverpool fans, tom.clark@thetimes.co.uk. Let me know your thoughts on Salah and whether there's any future for him at the club. I said we'd only mention Leeds. Let's quickly mention them, Gregor, because it's a great point for them in a really impressive week with the run of games that they had. They gave Man City a scare. They beat Chelsea, now got a point and a comeback at Ellen Road. A few weeks ago we were saying, no, it's just looking slightly difficult for them. It still looks very difficult. I'm not saying they're suddenly going to be mid-table, but it's a big, really positive week for Daniel Farke, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly for Daniel Farke, because he's, it was getting to the point where his position was being questioned, and a change in sort of formation has catalysed this uptick. Although they haven't said that, they changed back to 4-2-3 in the second half.
Yeah.
But then his subs were all really impactful. Tanaka scoring, Willie Gnonto getting the penalty, Aronson involved in the build up to second as well. Like, it's been a great week for Farke, and yeah, it's like something to build from as well. It looked like, when you look at their team in the sort of 3-5-2, it's good for the fullbacks. I think Goodmanson has been quite impressive going forward. He's got a lovely left foot. Jaden Bogle's really good going forward. We know how effective he was in the EFL last season in the Championship. But whether they're quite as good defensively is a question mark. And then they've got three big guys in the centre of defence, and some power up front. And Calvert-Lewin gets going, he's a force in the Premier League. So yeah, really big week for them. Yeah. Having said all that, again, Konate, my God, what was he doing?
You can just have a Konate, my God, for the rest of the season if you want. I think listeners are well versed with your thoughts on Konate.
Well, you don't have to say anything else.
Konate, my God. It's a terrible, terrible time to be a Liverpool fan. It's a great time to be an Everton fan. You've got to say, not just with the woes of their neighbours, but they're up to 6 in the table. 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest at the weekend. So it's time to play the favourite game that we're having this season, in this topsy-turvy season where anyone can beat anyone. Can Everton make it into the European contention, Gregor?
I mean, that'd be an amazing achievement because their squad is so thin.
I said contention. That means they can finish 9th. Having flirted with 6th. I think that's what contention
Well, how many points is between that? Come on, tell me. There's probably not that many.
No,
so
none
yes,
whatsoever.
They'll be there till blooming April.
Yeah, there's 1 point between 6th and 9th,
There you
Everton
go.
and Liverpool. So yeah, I guess they can.
But they look really good. I mean, Ndiaye and Grealish wide.
Dewsbury Hall looks a great signing,
been incredible.
hasn't he?
Yeah, he got 3 goals and 2 assists in the last 5 games. Some great goals as well. The goal against Newcastle was just completely overlooked because of the score. What a touch that was. And this was a lovely strike as well. So, and he's really important in the build-up play. And then Tierno Barry getting a goal. They looked so pleased for him. It was one of those really nice moments where
I think we're all pleased for him, aren't we?
Yeah, I'd missed some sitters. That one up at Sunderland was
stinkers.
A joke. Yeah, and then he's had some bad moments. So he scored one that was chalked off as well, I think, for offside, like a toenail. So yeah, you saw everyone, and Ndiaye kind of laid it off for him. And Ndie's been brilliant, hasn't he?
Yeah. What a terrific signing he's been.
Yeah, so can they be in European contention? They're probably in a group of half a dozen teams that will think
half
they've
the
got
league,
a chance.
basically. Yeah,
They could make the top 8, couldn't they? I mean, they're not going to get in the top 5 or top 4, but I think your definition, Tom's a bit hard. I think it's sort of anywhere sort of top 12. I think if you finish sort of 10, 11, you're
That's
sort
true.
of getting the European Conference League.
Yeah, it probably goes down to 14th, doesn't it? European contention. Yeah, a great start to the season.
They're a team of cult heroes, Everton, though, aren't they? They're just Grealish is a cult hero. He was an instant cult hero, and now Barry. I mean, I'm not quite sure why the fans adore him quite so much, but I think sometimes there's a thing, isn't there? There's a connection between the fan base and a player who's just trying his very, very
best. Back to the point Gregor said about you go back to your basic. If you're trying hard, any fan of any team at any level, if you see one of your players trying really hard, you can't knock him very much for that, at least.
And they need a striker.
Yeah.
They really want it to
They
work
really
out.
want him to get
David
scoring.
Moyes does too. He's like, we really want this to work out for him. We'll give him the chance, but he has to score goals. So yeah, we're pleased.
Yeah, a big win for Everton on Saturday. Not as big as Aston Villa's win against Arsenal. Aston Villa, what? I mean, nothing sums up this fascinating season that is unfolding before us than Aston Villa. A terrible start to this. You can't believe it?
No, I can't believe it. I was there. My opening game of the season was to go to Villa Park.
Yeah.
And they unfolded this giant banner that spoke of this is going to be our year,
Yeah.
There is no limit to our ambition was this vague message. Massive, massive banner. Huge picture of it, Unai Emery.
You don't like banners, do you, Ernst?
Banners. Well, I mean,
flags on houses, fine. Big banners in stadiums.
Exactly. Yeah. My rule book's very specific.
We were at the North London Derby, weren't we? And the Arsenal one was actually, I thought, quite impressive, but you weren't having that at all, were you? There's lots of really good ex-players.
Yeah, it was
enormous.
fantastic. No, she wasn't having it at all.
No interest.
Anyway, but Aston Villa, you didn't see this coming.
No, and you thought, yeah, I thought, oh, yes. I thought, silly banner, but yes.
Silly
This is a club that feels this is going to be their season, and they have. We've constantly said what a great manager Emery is, and they looked like they were going to be mid-table stodge at very, very best.
In those opening games, they couldn't score.
They couldn't score for 4 games. But just seeing them in the flesh with all the hype compared to what was actually on the pitch, lack of pace, no cutting edge, competent, yes, but in a division where there's just sparkle everywhere and pace everywhere. I just thought, that banner's going to be an embarrassing thing to look back on. and yet, if you have trust, if we have faith in Emery, it's all down to him and his coaching, and they're so organised, and it honestly feels like they squeeze the very best from every single individual in that team.
Yeah. And then can go again, because a lot of people writing off Ollie Watkins. He's back in the goals now, and then they've got players around them. They had the players on loan last season that we said, that made them good, didn't it? They had Rashford and Asensio. That's what made them good. And now you've got Buendia scoring important goals all the time. Morgan Rogers is now a superstar, keeping Jude Bellingham out the England team.
Camera in midfield.
Daniel Moyen looks great all of a sudden, having not got any game time. I mean, Tony Cascarino writing in the Times today saying kind of no egos and no limit for Aston Villa.
But Martinez has an ego, and he was going to leave, and he's come back and he's making the most amazing saves.
Having also had a difficult time as well, where he looked poor. And it is amazing, Tom, isn't it? And do you agree with Alison? It's all down to Unai.
And also, I mean, the banner aside, if you
don't bring the banner up again.
If
no
you
one
remember the
banner.
start of the season, actually, Villa were sort of, sulking about the transfer window, weren't they? There was this whole thing
bad
about
transfer window, missed Champions League.
We couldn't sign anyone. We missed the Champions League. It was unfair. Like, we can't get into the top bracket because of all the financial rules are against us. And then we did a podcast, I think, a couple of weeks in, and it really felt like the whole club was sort of sinking a bit. There was no enthusiasm. There was nothing fresh about it. And I think it does come from Emery. Like he has this ability to be analytical and to be forensic, but not to be too heavy. Wherever he goes, everyone says his video analysis sessions are just something else. They last for hours on end. And there was a Spanish guy who said, you have to bring the popcorn because you're there for 2.5 hours. But the players believe in him. It's not just about the kind of the system and the collective. I think what he also does with individuals is he says this is good for you. Because you're going to be a better player if you do this. Yes, it's good for the team, but actually, you make this run a little bit more often. You use this part of your foot a little bit more often, you're going to be a better player. You'll play for you'll go and play for your country at the World Cup. This kind of thing. He has that ability to motivate. I always think with Emery, like, why is he not linked? I mean, nothing against Aston Villa, but why is he not linked with the biggest jobs in the world? Like when we're thinking about kind of the Chelsea job or Liverpool, like before.
Because he had PSG and Arsenal, it didn't work.
But I mean, is it not time to sort of for clubs to think actually? Emery's a fantastic manager.
No, he's in danger of being pigeonholed as someone who can only manage at a certain level.
It's communication thing as well. Still, I think with him. Like, you need to be the public face of these.
But how long ago was that now? I mean, why we're still wondering about whether Unai Emery can speak English properly. He's taken Aston Villa from the bottom of the table to third in the league.
That's why Villa's the perfect club. Was the perfect club for him because they have the ambition to challenge for the very biggest clubs in the country and in Europe, and they have the money behind them to do it if they can. If you take away the spending rules. So like, yeah, I like. It's also his little tweaks he makes. Like he put Tielemans at number 10 in this game, and he's put McGinn on the right recently, and Rodgers on the left. But they both drift inside. It's almost going back to that. He used to play like 4-2-2-2, and like I don't know. It just overwhelms the opposition in the middle of the pitch. And if they can play those sort of incisive passes that like Torres and Konsa are capable of, and the fullbacks off of the width, Cash has been brilliant recently. Yeah. As he switched off at the back post and he punished them. Like it's about his tactics as well. Like he finds solutions to problems, and he's done it emphatically this season.
In terms of being in the perfect place, then 5 wins on the spin, only 3 points behind Arsenal, 15 games played, no distraction in the Champions League. Can they challenge at the very top in this season? Where I keep saying it, everyone can beat everyone. Can Villa challenge for the title?
They haven't quite got the depth.
Oh yeah, I think that's the truth.
Not quite the depth.
Yeah, I don't know if they have. Yeah, if Watkins really comes back into form and scores the goals, then like they can be close. But I don't think so. I don't think they have the same strength. I know they don't have the Champions League, but they have Europa League.
Top 4?
Yeah, top 4.
Yeah, definitely.
They can get in top 4, 100%.
Which would be an amazing achievement, given what we said at the start. Bad summer, no signings, etc. Villa finishing in the top 4 was an incredible season. And also, why not win the Europa League as well while you're at it?
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, the Europa League obviously is a huge thing that they could go for. I mean, you look at the Aston Villa team and you compare it to City or Arsenal. I mean, Liverpool. Any of it. It's a good team, and there are some good players in there. But you don't look at it and go, wow, that's a top 4 team, or that's a team who could win the Premier League. Like you don't. That is the mark of the coaching, because they've got good players who are playing out their skin.
How many do you think then, in that terms of that team? Is it just like Morgan Rogers who would get into a City or an Arsenal or a Liverpool team, or are there other players that you think, looking at that?
I think Konza's in that conversation now.
Yeah.
I think he's really like one of the best central defenders in the country. Like Tielemans on his day, like Tielemans is loved by Aston Villa fans now, and after a really difficult start, he wasn't getting in the team. Like he came on a free from Leicester, didn't he? And it sort of was pretty underwhelming start for him. But now he's like, after he came back from injury, he's so important for them. He's like, I saw a stat recently where he's like one of the most this is a very modern phrase, but one of the most press resistant players in the league. And you see it, it's like he can take the ball in tight situations, like John McGinn.
Another one with a good bum, yeah. I knew that was coming. I could see a bum.
But that's so important in this team too, because they're at their best when they move it really quickly through the thirds. And like those players that can do that can swivel and get a Watkins or a Rodgers or whoever moving forward quickly are really important.
Arsenal fans need to be worried, or just need to get Gabriel and Saliba back on the pitch as soon as possible?
Well, that would help.
Yeah, is it? But I mean, it can be that simple analysis, or is this a bit? Oh no, Unai's done it again, or is it just they need the boys back in defence?
It'd be big for them. I mean, they've conceded 3 goals from crosses. They conceded. The opener against Sunderland was like a long ball into the box that they didn't quite deal with. I wouldn't attach that much blame to them for that one. Then it's conceded from a corner against Chelsea, Jalabat near post. Again, that was quite a good corner routine.
Yep.
And then this was like a lapse in focus from across to the back post. It's just, I don't even know if any of these things are things that centre halves would deal. It's just they were like.
So you wouldn't be. What you're saying is no one's like thinking, "Oh, Arsenal's coming off the rails. They're still the team to beat."
Arsenal might be thinking that,
yeah,
because it's Arsenal, and the fans might be, and that's the problem.
Part of what I mean.
Going to Villa are a good team, and you can lose.
Emery's beating us again. Oh my god!
You can lose to Villa away. It happens. You're not going to win every single match. The biggest danger that comes out of this result for Arsenal is that they start worrying about being on a wobble, and they're not. Like it happens, and they should just pick themselves up and go again.
Yeah, they shouldn't, because the goal was chaos.
Absolute
like they defended it brilliantly, really. They were throwing their bodies on the line, and it just broke to Buendia again. Buendia kept trying to keep it alive, and he just found that pocket of space to hook it in.
Did you see Emery's celebration up the line?
Yeah, it was like he was heading everything.
Yeah. I think he was shouting "Come on" as well in English, so Gregor is having a go at him.
Communication. There he goes. He got it definitely on the ball. Well, Manchester City lurking just behind Arsenal, proving they're not the Erling Haaland team after all. 8 goals in 2 games, and Haaland's only got 1 of them, so that might be adding to Arsenal fans' angst as well. Loads more still to come, but we'll take a quick break. Little quiz question for you. Since Oliver Glasner's first game in charge of Crystal Palace in March 2024, how many clubs have won more points away from home than Palace in the Premier League? Find out after the break. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from The Times. I'm Tom Clark, and I've got Tom Allnutt, Alison Rudd and Gregor Robertson with me. We're in a bit of a rush, so I didn't give you much time to work out the answer to the quiz question, but it's 3. 3 teams have more Premier League points away from home than Crystal Palace. Since Oliver Glasner took charge, they got 52 points away from home. Only Arsenal, Liverpool and City have done better. So with that in mind, let's talk about Crystal Palace. They have been for a long time, I think, everyone's favourite other team, haven't they? There's lots of contenders in the Premier League, particularly this Premier League. Bournemouth are fantastic, Villa we've mentioned, but Palace, there's just a lot to love about Palace, isn't there? Tom, you were there at this game, which looked like a lot of fun.
It was a great game. Yeah, I loved it. I've covered a lot of Spurs this season, so it was quite nice to go to a ground where there's sort of positivity, 2 teams who are enjoying themselves.
End to end, playing some nice football as well. Couple of lovely goals, team goals for the two first goals.
Well, stylistically, it was an interesting game because you've got Fulham who like to kind of have the ball and dominate, and Palace who are very happy not to have the ball and who will always kind of create chances on the break. I was just looking at this game, and it's just, I know we said this before, but it's such a reminder of just how good the Premier League is. I saw a lot of people kind of saying yesterday, it's West Ham, Brighton and Palace, Fulham, why have Sky picked these games? And fair enough, but at the game, you're seeing these players like, Jeremy Pino is a Spanish international. You got Chukwueze, who, on loan from AC Milan. Adam Wharton, clearly, just such a brilliant player to watch. Every time you watch Wharton, he's just so silky and smooth. And like 2 brilliant managers, 2 teams who are so well organised, well coached. Just the quality of the game I thought was really high. I mean, Wilson's goal. I mean, if you haven't, I mean, a lot of people probably won't have seen it because of everything else that's going on. It's really worth checking out.
I know some of my mates saying goal of the season contender this one in terms of the move and the finish, like
because as well it was just really unusual. Like a lovely little sort of 1-2 around Lacroix it was and off Raul Jimenez, and it comes back to him. It's just not quite in the right space for him to kind of drive it straight. So he just kind of uses his left foot to wrap it around the right side of the ball and just kind of sends it drifting to the sort of left corner past Henderson's right hand. It's just it was a reminder to me as well that all Premier League footballers are really good footballers. Like even the sort of middling ones, if you played five-a-side with them, they would score like 15 goals in 20 minutes. Like Harry Wilson is a good player, and he's been on loan at Crewe and everything, and he came from Liverpool, etc. But you wouldn't say he's one of the best players in the league, right? But he can deliver that kind of moment that is just pure first class. Like
does it regularly as
the
well.
goal against Spurs the other week as well.
Yeah,
brilliantly executed.
I feel like that little Tom Ulnut monologue there could have been that kind of antidote to the Mitchell and Webb football all the time that Sky can just play at some point over this festive period when there is endless football. Just listen to Tom Ulnut talk about how football is class. I mean, football is mint.
The other goal as well, in Palace's goal was
great.
It's just terrific. Wharton sends it out to the left, comes back to him, just punches it in first time, and Nketiah, probably everyone thinks, well, he's sort of a slightly sort of second-rate striker, hasn't made it at Arsenal. Boom, driven right into the bottom corner. Like, brilliant finish. It was a great game, honestly. It was, and Palace won it, but actually, a draw probably would have been a fair result. I feel a bit sorry for Fulham, but it was a great finish from Gahey as well to get the points.
The way Wharton played out to the left, outside of his left foot, like it's so easy and effortless and classy, and then that one round the corner, it's like I honestly, I was at the United game last week. I honestly feel that Palace tried to set up situations where he's square on and he can play that ball around the corner. Like I think even in their own half, there were times in the first half,
like one touch around the corner type thing. Yeah,
because he's so good at it. And he just wraps his foot around it. He did one in the first half against United where he was like, I don't know, 10 yards outside his own box, and he got it from the fullback, and he played it inside, in between the United's fullback and centre half to release Mateta. Like I don't think he'd even looked. It's just like some telepathy he has with every other teammate, and that one round the corner with his left foot is just like such a weapon.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you agree with me then, Tom, having seen Fulham live. They shouldn't be part of the relegation conversation.
No,
they're such a class above that conversation, I think, and yet they're still hovering. Yeah,
they're hovering, but they won't be. I really don't think they will.
With Smith Rowe showing potential of like finally kind of stepping in, I feel like he's one that they're maybe wanting a bit more from. We signed him from Arsenal, huge potential. Looked good in this game, but maybe wanting a little bit more from him consistently. Yeah,
he's lively. I mean, I think you sort of know what Smith Rowe is going to give you. He's such a classy player on the ball. Maybe it's just more of the off the ball. But I mean, even around the Fulham, I mean, Silva's got Iwobi playing in sort of central midfield at the moment. I think he looks brilliant there. He's been playing right wing his whole career, and suddenly he's playing central midfield as a sort of like he brings a bit more thrust in midfield. Next to Sander Berg, isn't it? And he can carry it, but he can pass it as well. He brings a bit of dynamism. Played well as well.
Really underrated player, Alex Iwobi. Just to quickly on Palace, the evolution of Palace as well is fascinating. You've got Pino now, number 10. Talk so much about Eze leaving. They lost Elise a few years ago. You've now got Nketiah scoring, Mateta. They've got Wharton in midfield. The way they just kind of quietly evolve the team. So then maybe like start the season, you're going, they're going to miss these stars. And then you get to Christmas and you're like, this guy's great, this guy's amazing. Wow, have you seen this guy? He's brilliant. It's fantastic the way they do it. And again, maybe to pick up an earlier point, it's down to Oliver Glasner and his coaching ability, right?
Yeah, good coaching. And they spent 50 million in the summer. I mean, they lost Eze. Also, I mean, don't forget in the last week of August, it wasn't sort of the beginning of the summer transfer window, brilliantly planned. They lost him in the last week of August. They spent 50 million, which was 18th in the league for spending in the summer. Nearly 300 million less than Chelsea, who now Palace are above in the table.
Had the whole Gahey saga.
Had the whole Gahey thing. I mean, Glasner's obviously, kind of using his authority right now just to kind of like tell the club that they should have done more, and they will. I mean, I know there's a sort of angst at Palace at the moment about Glasner going, and I think that's entirely fair enough. What a brilliant job he's done with the FA Cup and where they are now. But I also think, you have to sort of look at the model, I mean, it's cliche, but look at Brighton. Just go and get another one. When you've got a really good squad like this and you've got a good platform and you're playing a really progressive, interesting style of football, that's a much easier sell to really good coaches in Spain or in Germany. Go and get the next one. Bring them in and you keep it moving. Glasner doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all of this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, but he has broken the rules of football engagement, which is if you start slagging off purchasing and the board and the decisions made, it's supposed to not go as well as this.
He won the FA Cup though, didn't he? He can do whatever the hell he wants, Oliver Glasner, basically for at least a year.
Even allowing for that, yes, I'm saying, yes, you're right. He won the FA Cup, so he's not going to get sacked for it. But the point is that would indicate to the outside world, things aren't very happy. Not a happy club. And yet they play like a cohesive, happy club, which is down to him being able to park his disgruntlement, but not let that seep into the training.
I wonder if Glasner could do it in a bigger team. I do wonder that. Like, I just think that the style of football, it's 37% possession yesterday. It's very sort of counter-attacking kind of style. We talk about Emery being perfect for Villa. Is he perfect for a sort of middling
Everyone
team?
just stay where they are and just keep this great crackers season where everyone beats everyone. Iraola, you stay at Bournemouth. No one leave. Everybody stay exactly where they are. That's what we want, isn't it? That makes it far more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like, he gave a great interview actually to Sky Sports, Oliver Glasner, last week before the United game, and it was like a tactical. They're quite rare, these things. A manager sort of sits down and goes through his formation and all this, and he's actually saying, like, I bet if you watched our games and you pressed pause, you'd see us in 4-4-2 more than any other formation. He's like, because whenever we don't have the ball, like he pushes up, he moves across, that's the way we defend, or that's the way we press. And he's going to, so like it's interesting whether it's like that's his sort of philosophy, his belief, his way that you're trying to be a little bit more conservative and then punch people on the break, or whether with better players and greater resources, he would evolve. Like, that's the question for all these guys. It's the same with the Iraola. Like, I think it's slightly different with the Iraola because he was like a Bielsa disciple. Like, that's his way.
Yeah.
But Glasner, I would be interested to see how he would evolve with more resources.
Well, speaking of a manager who did incredibly well at a club of a certain size and has moved on, and seeing whether he can evolve, let's talk about Tottenham and Thomas Frank. Alison, you were there. We sent Tom somewhere else, and Tottenham win a game. That must be what it is.
Says something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's incredibly unfair. I have to put up with everything I've had to put up with this year at Tottenham. Alison goes once and gets a 2-0 win.
As Thomas Frank was in and training, Alison Ruddy's coming. No, not that all-nut bloke. He's got lovely hair, but he's not coming. No, Alison Ruddy's coming. We need to win 2-0. Xavi Simons, you can push a bit further forward. Everything's going to click. Much needed win though for
Thomas
Frank.
I mean, I dread to think what would have happened had Brentford won that one from Thomas Frank's point of view. But it was like a blooming Christmas miracle, the whole game. So the background, as we know, was Thomas Frank had said about there being true fans, and true fans don't boo their own players, and there'd been a general disgruntlement about results and style of play, and yet walked into the stadium from the first whistle. The fans, to a person, had decided they were going to be absolutely behind every single player and the team as a whole. It was I haven't felt an atmosphere like that since the start of the Ange. I don't know, realm, whatever.
Yeah.
And don't know why I come up with that one.
Yeah. Leave him alone. He won a trophy. Leave him alone. Anyway, Alison, sorry.
And surprise, surprise, if the players can hear the fans giving them massive encouragement, they will respond. And the player who responded most to that encouragement was Xavi Simons, who it was astonishing. They treated him like it was his debut. That's how it felt. It felt like it was his debut. Clean slate, start again. You've had disappointing start to your Spurs career. Hadn't scored a goal. Everyone's a bit disappointed you're not Eze. I mean, that was the backdrop to him. And then, but every touch, every movement he made, big roars. At one point, he was getting the crowd, raising his arms, getting the crowd to make more noise. Instant relationship. And he played like a dream. He played like an absolute dream. His cross for Richarlison for the opening goal was just, it wasn't just a good cross, it was just perfectly calibrated. It was just so you couldn't miss. And then he did this thing where everyone was like going, oh my God. So he loses possession, falls over, gets back on his feet, wins possession, runs from inside his own half like an absolute demon. And Brentford just shocked, I think. No one got close to him. And his finish was just inch perfect. I mean, a star is born a bit late in his, a bit later in the year than he would have liked. But that to me was a huge lesson to Spurs fans. This is what happens when you don't get all hoity-toity about who your manager is, where he's come from. Oh, he's only
it does help though when you're not 2-0 down after 6 minutes. I mean, I don't think it's all about the fans. And the fans were responding to what how poor the team were. I mean, we don't.
Yes, but that's when you need. That's when you're needed.
Also,
Yeah.
That's the whole blooming point of turning up, isn't it? So that if you're 2-0 down, you can turn it around.
But just, Tom, on some of the things Alison said there, you're going after this podcast to listen to Thomas Frank speak again, so I'm sure he'll be heartbroken not to see Alison instead of you.
Yeah, he will be.
And then you're going to the big Champions League game. They need they need to follow this up, don't they? It's all well and good Alison saying these things about Saturday's game, but Siemens and the team need to follow this up, don't they?
Yeah, and maybe Frank needs to stick with it. I mean, with Xavi Simons, I mean, that the whole thing has been that he's been sort of started out on the left because Frank was sort of saying he wasn't quite ready for the Premier League, sort of number 10 defensively, maybe ease him in a bit more sort of out wide. Then he was kind of coming off the bench last 3 or 4 games. I mean, even in that home game against Fulham, he didn't start him. So maybe, him playing here was kind of a real sort of signal of intent, I think, from Frank, which is what the Spurs fans have kind of been wanting to see. That, okay, we're at home against a team that we expect to win. Let's play the number one creator. Let's not really worry about his off the ball, running and whether he defends properly. Like, let's actually go there and try and create chances and score goals. And they played Archie Gray as well in central midfield. It was an attacking lineup, 4-2-3-1. Keep it simple. We think that this team is better than the other team. Let's go and win the game, rather than what we've seen quite a lot, I think, from Frank, and probably too much in the last few weeks, which is tweak. Different formation, different attacking combinations. Xavi Simons on the bench. There's a lot of tactical confusion. And I think he has admitted, that ultimately the schedule that Spurs have, there's no time on the training ground. He can't get these messages into the players quickly enough, unfortunately, which is what he had at Brentford. Loads of time to kind of design these plans. I think to some extent he is learning on the job, and that's entirely understandable, by the way. And I think from now on, he's got a really good template here. At least at home, again, as you say, they're playing Slavia Prague tomorrow in the Champions League. Another game they should expect to win. Play the same team, play the same system, get some continuity and get some confidence going.
Yeah.
Thomas said to me, that he saw this coming in training, that he says it's clicking. So it's all set up now to be beautiful for the rest of the campaign, isn't it?
Thanks, Alison. I appreciate what you've done this weekend. The
service you've given to Tottenham supporters is a truly, truly wonderful thing. But they do have to follow it up, and they will be under pressure to do so in that Champions League game. Tom, you'll be following that game. You can read Tom's report on the Times website. Newcastle hoping to follow up their win against Burnley, against Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League, and Chelsea inconsistency again, a 0-0 draw with Bournemouth, but they're all hoping to bounce back against Atalanta. Let's finish with the other game from Sunday. Gregor, did you get as much buzz and as joy from Brighton 1, West Ham 1 as Tom did from Fulham against Palace?
Definitely not for the first hour, for several reasons. One, it was pissing and rain. And anyone who's been to the Amex, as all of us know,
yeah,
that
it
you're not
rains
covered.
On your laptop.
You're
it
not
rains on your
covered
laptop.
in the press box. So
that doesn't feel very Brighton, does it?
No,
all the love they get from
oversight.
journalists.
Massive oversight.
They all
It's
love
beautifully
Brighton.
appointed
What
stadium.
a club. Terrible roof.
They lay out these bin bags over the blooming desk as well, just like a token gesture to try
and kitchen rolls, so you can keep your seat dry.
Glamour of the job, ladies and gentlemen.
So anyway, that wasn't great.
But
and the first hour was crap.
Awful.
But they went Nuno was scowling in the first half. I genuinely think he hates a few of his players. Honestly.
Name them. Who? Guess.
I can't. It's bad. But there's moments where he's turning around and just muttering or shouting things to his staff and what is he doing? And so I reckon he gave them a rocket at half time, and then the second half they came out and they were a lot better. They were lot more kind of purposeful and snapping into tackles, and the goal was great. The Bowen's goal was it was an error by Brighton, and Van Hecker tried to head it back kind of cutely to Dunk, I think, and miscued it, and Wilson was in, laid it. But when he laid it into the box for Bowen, it was going wide and it looked overhit, and you thought, and Kadioglu was right beside Bowen, you thought
it's like he scored from a tackle.
Yeah, it's a slight tackle goal, but it was totally meant, and it was really sort of instinctive. Great finish. And then it would have been his first clean sheet under Nuno. They were holding out, and the goal was controversial too for a number of reasons, and Nuno was gutted afterwards, and I felt a bit sorry for them actually. I thought, I mean, the whole argument by the Premier League, I think, or PGMOL, is that it didn't lead the handball didn't lead directly to the goal, but it's seconds before the keeper saved the first one. It was cut back to Rutter, and he put it in again. I don't know how you can't say that wasn't leading to the goal. So a little bit hard done by West Ham, but West Ham are improving. There's no doubt.
I was going to say they're in the relegation zone, as I say. Good point for Leeds. They're showing some fight. Do we still think West Ham have got enough to get out of it. A few weeks ago, we were talking about West Ham and Forest showing improvements, but they've not necessarily pulled away. Leeds on 15 points in 16th place. Fulham, who everyone keeps telling me they're not in a relegation battle, guys. They're not in a relegation battle. Forest beaten at the weekend. West Ham in 18th, then Burnley, a couple of points behind in 19th, and Wolves obviously play Manchester United tonight. West Ham's showing enough, or is it these kind of results that they really need to kind of get the 3 points over the line?
They're definitely showing enough, but whether it's like across 90 minutes is another question. Like I say, the first half they were sloppy. Having said that, like Brighton play such a high line that any time Paqueta or Somerville or Bowen or actually Fernandes got on the ball, they looked a threat, and they probably had the best chances in the first half, but they were sloppy. They were like just some like not following tracking runners or like sloppy passes, kicking out of play, things like that. So as I say, I think Nuno is looking at his team and thinking, God, we need some upgrades.
Some signings.
We need some serious upgrades. And that, Nuno was the reason why you think there's hope now, because they had 35% possession. It was almost a kind of perfect Nuno away performance, and it just came unstuck.
Just very quickly on Brighton, in 7th, Fabian Hertzler, still amazing. Took over last summer. Young manager, youngest in the league. Oh, he looks so young. You're all going interviewing going, oh, he's younger than me. You're so young. He's still there, still doing brilliantly. In 7th.
But I think
fantastic.
under the radar a bit too. I mean,
very under the radar. We barely mentioned them this season.
He brought up 50 games last month. And I don't know if it surprised me, but it surprised you guys that he had a better record than De Zerbi.
Really? That does surprise me, actually.
That was surprised. Everyone loved De Zerbi. He played such exciting football.
He was crackers, though, wasn't he?
Made it
That's
to Europe. Like, the fact is that because he finished 8th last season and didn't make it to Europe, it was like, that's still their second best finish in the Premier League era.
Yeah.
And I think the fans haven't quite taken to him in the same way. It's not the same level of excitement, and they're great at doing the pressing. I think all the stats back that up. They're brilliant at kind of winning the ball back high up the pitch. There are a lot of games last season you feel they didn't manage to quite go over the line, and now they've flipped it on their head and they've won so many points from losing positions this season. I don't know. There's something they're not quite taking to him in the same way, but he's there's no doubt he's done a great job.
Yeah, he's doing a brilliant job.
They need a cut run, Brian. I think look at these sort of teams like the sort of what do we call them? The kind of the fashion teams, like in the middle, where
the party zone. Let's call it the party zone.
The party zone, but they sort of they need it to go off. Like it can't just be a sort of like a cocktail party. It has to actually like happen at the end with something.
A rager, a massive rager.
Turn up the music.
Kitchen party at 2 a.m. is what you need.
Like this is why, like Palace, they're having a great time because they won a trophy. Like Brighton, it's all very well sort of always finishing between 6th and 10th, but ultimately, you need a bit of adrenaline. And I think they could really do with going far in one of those
Europe
cups.
was that for them, at the point. They're playing Marseille.
Some amazing nights,
on these trips and stuff, but from where they came from too. But ultimately, Tom's right. Yeah, there comes after so long, they want to take that next step, and it is probably a trophy.
Yeah, football's class and kitchen ragers. You've got it all on Monday's episode of the Game Podcast. We'll leave it there. Tom Allnut and Alison Rudd and Gregor Robertson. Thank you for joining me. Gregor, should we do an EFL show this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? We'll be back with an EFL show, and we'll be back with the regular show on Thursday. See you then.